Hi guys, happy, what is it, autumn? I think autumn is starting soon, at least it feels like autumn. I want to greet you all. I missed you. I didn't see you for whole summer. We had a little break with Zuzka. And today we are going to talk about relationships, specifically 10 psychological reasons why your relationships never seem to last. And I'm not saying all of you, of course. Some of you are in beautiful relationships, and for those of you I congratulate, and keep on looking after it and obviously cherish it and nurture it, and just like we look after our flowers, it's important to nourish our relationships. But for those of you who are kind of in a cycle of relationships not really working or not working as well as you would like them to, we've got this streaming. Or if you think that you are experiencing some kind of patterns in relationships, that you're still in relationship but it's not really happening so well, then stay with us and maybe you will find out something useful for yourselves, minimally some insights, or maybe even some things that will prompt you to take an action, or take some get some insights that will lead towards the actions that will essentially help you to move forward with your relationships and keep a closer bonds with your loved ones, which is actually something very important, because we spend with our people so much time, and they are a home, they are a core of our source of happiness. Not all of it, but the big part of it that belongs to a core. So anyway, welcome to you all. Let me know, how was your summer in the comments while we are waiting for Susanna to join us. I believe that she will be joining any moment soon. I'm going to find her as well. And in the meantime, guys, let me know let me know how was your summer. I will be I want to hear from you. Was it nice summer? Was it the one that made you feel rejuvenated and kind of refreshed? Did you have a nice holidays? Or was it kind of hi Nina is saying hello, or was it kind of summer that it just went so quick, I don't even know what happened that there was any summer? So let us know, how was your summer? Susie, I'm just bringing you onto the screen, and I'm going to ask also Zuzka. Nina is saying long time I catch as the live started. Yeah, good to see you with us, Nina, and welcome again everybody. Zuzka, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Hello everybody.
Hello. How was your summer?
It was nice. It was really nice, but it seems like a long time ago because the weather has changed quickly and it's really suddenly got cold, so we are in like kind of a autumn season now, even though it's still summer. End of summer. But it was very nice. How about you?
It was beautiful, busy with kids. We've been talking about this before summer with Susanna, how summer is great, but it's so busy with kids. Like, you're always kind of trying to find the ways to entertain them and to keep them busy and happy. But we enjoyed it. We enjoyed every minute. We traveled a lot. We moved places all the time. But yeah, summer was good. But I'm kind of ready for autumn now.
Yes.
I'm so happy the seasons are changing, because I think I would find myself really quite bored in a country where there's always like half a year of summer, or 3/4 of a year of the summer. Like, I like those changes
because you can tell exactly what season you're in. So I like it too. And similar to you, when I was ready to come back home, because we traveled a lot as well and we were away the whole summer, and then I was happy to come back home, and I was like, oh yeah, good, I'm ready. Because sometimes we feel like or at least I used to, or sometimes I do, when it's too short, it's like, oh, I could stay here a bit longer, or it's not enough, or I need another holiday after this. But I was ready. I was happy to come back home, so that was good.
I feel exactly the same. Exactly. I couldn't wait for a little routine and going back to my work, little sections of working more, and it's good feeling to feel this way. Anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. And today we are going to be talking about relationships. So again, a warm welcome to all of you who want to hear about 10 psychological reasons why your relationships never seem to last. We named it this way, but I think many of you being in a relationship or not are going to find some interesting insights. So maybe we will start with kind of generalizing about relationships. Like when you talk to your friends, I start with a question actually, like what do your friends, or what do you feel from your personal experience and observations around, like why relationships don't seem to last? What are the reasons when you think about it, or when you hear from your friends, like what can be the reasons why? There are some obvious ones like infidelity, or you know, financial reasons, strains, or people grow apart. Those are the common reasons. What else? Maybe different kind of views on how we want to bring up our children. That's very common once people become parents as well. What else can be challenging in relationships?
Yeah, different opinions on, or opinions or views on life, in general. Like, you know, some people might be more spiritual, or some people are more like material led, or you know, and that clashes. And even though they might try to sort it out, but that's growing apart, isn't it? You already said it, so I think you covered most of them.
Most of them. Good.
And of course there is the ones that are, you know, abuse and things like that. So
that's like section, like we call toxic relationships, where there is really not much to repair many times when it goes to that. Good. Okay, so now we are going to talk about like 10 patterns, or what might be happening in relationships that don't seem to last. Or not only that, but some of them, they seem to last, but they are not working. Okay, so I named it this way, but it's actually, you know, something that is causing a friction. And underline all of these problems in relationships, from my experience and as a coach. We didn't even introduce ourselves today. Sorry, I forgot.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't actually. We haven't done it for a while, so it's
we
like
haven't done it. We forgot how to do these lives.
We came out of the routine, so yeah.
No, briefly.
So I'm Susanna Taylor. I'm a business and transformational business coach, and energy coach as well. I do EFT. I'm an EFT practitioner. So I help people, not just women, but I help people to be their true selves, and from that space, and authentic, and their, you know, be themselves, and connect with themselves, and from that space everything else falls into place. Like the business, they have you can have successful business because you know who you are. Life, health, everything falls into place. So this is what I do in quick introduction.
Once we stop lying to each other, to ourselves, I wanted to say, magic happens, really.
No.
And very briefly, my name is Lucia. I'm a fertility and relationship coach, and I support women on their journey to similar to Susanna in some ways, to rediscover who they are, to help them on their way towards motherhood, and in terms of relationships, to really help them to first of all identify and see and talk about what is not working, and then, you know, going through the motions of really clarifying about what is there that needs to be not only done, but the you know, see the different views on the existing relationships, giving this refreshing point of view that can move you forward from point where you feel stuck. You know, I think that's the core of what I do in terms of relationships. And once you do get this refreshingly new insight on your current situation, because what we talk about here today is kind of generic, but you know, every situation is very specific, every relationship, it's got a different dynamics. And once you kind of get behind it and learn what is there to that you can take responsibility yourself for, and what is the dynamics between the two people, then really things start moving forward. And you know, sometimes it's that relationship, people fall in love newly, and sometimes it's a termination of relationship. However, that is not disastrous thing, because it's actually freeing both people who can move forward with love. It is possible to actually split up. So you know,
that's beautiful. And it's important to say, like you said already, and this is what we both do, to say that it's individual for every person and every relationship and every single individual, because we are the same as people, but we are all different. We experience things differently, we think differently, we had different backgrounds and all of that, which we're going to talk about. But it's important to say, you know, to acknowledge that we all, and every single one of your clients is unique, you know, and mine is unique, and it needs particular and unique approach as well. So
absolutely. And I like to talk about this, and I like the subject we are just about to start talking about today, because I believe that relationships are such a big part of our happiness in life. We, even if we are not with person, the kind of feeling of who we related to in everyday life, and who we are coming back home to meet later on after work, you know, it is always there. You know, if something is wonderful, you know the feeling, you look forward to come home and be greeted and kissed and have a nice cozy evening on an autumn night, or you know, of passion. And it's very different feeling throughout the day, throughout the life, when you are with someone who you're clashing with, who you have often arguments about things that, you know, you feel like you don't even have to argue about, but you know, those things are happening and repeating over and over again, and there is some kind of pattern and some kind of dynamics that is totally possible to change and transform. But for that, we need to first of all recognize what is really happening, what is behind those arguments, and then, you know, take an action inside that new action that will take us to new results that are going to be much more pleasant and cause the connection between two people. So what are the 10 psychological reasons why relationships never seem to last, or don't seem to last, or are not very pleasant ones? So number one, Susie, would you like to start?
Yes, so the number one here is you are afraid to ask for what you really want. Quite often, or we can get stuck in thinking like, oh, you know, it has to be hard, we have to work hard, or I have to give this up or give in this argument or something, or what I really want, because, or we don't even know what we really want, what it is, because we are mothers, you know. Let's talk, are we talking about women? Let's talk about women. So we're mothers, and women, and we are by nature we are wired up to be mothers and to be the female figure. So we tend to give more than receive, and then it's easy to forget, or even forget or connect with yourself what you really want, and then we can't even ask because we don't know what we want. So we go with the masculine energy is the energy that is more, you know, it's the stronger one, but straightforward, exactly. So sometimes it's easy to give in, or to follow, or to go with their opinions or their suggestions. And it's okay, but then when it goes the other direction, the other way, that is too much, then something, it feels like we're not heard, or we're not loved enough, or we don't even know who we are. So you have some examples here, like asking to ask where to go for dinner, or get takeaway, you know, like what takeaway we're getting. So if it's the man that was always suggesting, you know, you are even afraid to ask what you want, what you would like, and then it hurts inside. Something is not right. Yeah. So that's
it's I think this first point is more about, you know, it's about you're afraid, or you don't even know, or not aware enough to know what you want, never mind asking for it directly. Yeah. So I think I would start with, as a women, as a little girls already, we observe our mom and women in general that tend to, like Zuzka said, we have a tendency to observe mothers and wives be out of service, right? Like we provide like service to well-being and around the well-being of people around us, right? Cooking, cleaning, making things nice in our household. I just decorated autumnly my home, and you know, like we have it naturally inside us. Plus, as a little girls, we see our moms doing it, right? Like serving a dinner to your dad, you know. So we are wired up that way, and then we get married, and of course we are copying the patterns of whatever we've seen, and we often have a tendency, like being a good wife is to be the one who, you know, provides this kind of service to a husband. And often, plus when the kids are born, we get to this vicious circle of serving, and very, especially when children are very small, that's very normal that we of course, you know, you sacrifice a lot of your needs because there is not enough time and energy to even think about them, never mind doing them, to provide whatever the babies need, and then it carries on. So like Susanna said, we get to the moment where we even forget about what we need, or what we need, you know, like we are craving for that something that is very important. We feel exhausted, and but the truth is like is like one of my friends, like she was saying, you know, if someone tells me to, you know, go for a week for holidays, like everything is paid, just go, I take care of kids, you don't have to cook or prepare anything, you just pack yourself and leave. She said, well, I'm in a stage where I am dreaming of it, but I wouldn't be able to do it anymore. Or if someone tells me, like, you've got a day off, go and do whatever you want, she's like, I don't know what I would do, you know. So that's really important. So I think it's important to first, before we communicate it to our partners and really boldly asking and sharing to what our needs are, we need to work it out ourselves. And that's the kind of responsibility we need to take in relationships because if we are just, which is very common, and hands up, I done it, you know, if we are just angry on our partner, like I've got so much to do, and you're like just watching a football, well, we are responsible also, because men don't read our thoughts, and so all they hear is a complaint. After some time they switch off anyway, so they don't even hear it.
They've got the ability to do it. Yes.
and then we are blaming them for the way we feel, but really it's us to take responsibility for changing this, shifting this, and if we don't, nobody is going to do it for us. So
yeah,
that's kind of
think
number
about
one.
what you really want, isn't it? Like, what do I really want? What do I crave? What do I miss? Or what did I used to do before I was a mother? Before, what did I used to like? What made me happy? What made me laugh? What made me feeling joy? Those little moments. And that's where it's good to go back and start, because it is very common, and it's like you said, it's easy to get into those patterns of our ancestors, on our parents, mothers, grandmothers, and then they become ours as well. So really, and when we're young, especially when we're children, when we're young, we are free to play, free to express whatever we are.
They always ask for what they want. They don't ask, they
know exactly. They don't ask for permission. They just ask because they know exactly what they want. So yes, and that's a good thing, to have children as an example. Okay, well, what do I really want? And say it to yourself first before you ask others, because what like the pain or the frustration that we have is we're having frustration with us, but we project it onto others first. But it's our own, like you said, take responsibility. It's our own.
I just say maybe I ask you all one question that is maybe interesting to ponder on. If we've been so free, and all of us been very free to ask for what we want, like it was like ice cream, we had to have ice cream, when we've been kids, in what point of, whether it was age or whether something happened, we stopped with this? Was it gradual for you? What was it? Something happened and after that I didn't ask because I got no? Or was it because when I became a parent? Or let us know. I'm just really interested in the comments.
Great question.
Good question. Okay, number 2. Zuzi, you can go.
So you are afraid to say no to what you don't want. So this is the opposite of what you want. You're afraid to say no to what you don't want. You go, Lucy.
And it's opposite, but it's not the same, in a sense that, because it might sound similar, but it's actually different in kind of dynamics, because many times we say yes, and let me know if you agree with me. Many times we, as a women especially, say yes to just to please people, or because it's easier, or because not to look bad, or not to look like you don't like that person, right? In situations you are invited to a party, or your husband wants to eat something that he likes, but it really is heavy food, it's summer, you don't fancy it, but you say okay, but it's okay to do it and to make a compromise. But many times we don't say no, and the other person has got no chance to even know that it's not your cup of tea. You know how many times it happens? I just got one client now, and she was in relationship for about 15 years of marriage, and she was it was like her default to please her husband, to keep the waters calm, to that her husband's got no bloody clue how unhappy she is in this relationship. Like, seriously. Even when she's on a phone with him, she's completely this different person, and she's like it's so in theory, if she files for divorce now, it would be not a shock, because for him, relationships is ideal. He's happy, he always been. I've got a love heart, so it seems to resonate with you. So again, it's our responsibility to say no and choose powerful no. Change our relationship with the word no. I had to learn this years ago also, when I had a big problem to say no, and doesn't matter whether it's in work environment or at home, or somewhere is easier than others for different people, but it's very important. And no doesn't have to be aggressive. No doesn't have to be no, I don't love you. No doesn't have to be no forever, just not for now. Yeah. Or if you don't want to say no, there are many other ways to express what you really want. And you can even say, I prefer to do this, which means, I don't fancy burger, I would prefer to have. And it's just such a nice way to express what you want, and at the same time say no. Maybe very quickly, I mention, very common, I go a little bit intimate in this, but many times man wants the sex and woman doesn't want to have an intimate connection with the man in that moment. And that can be very sensitive in terms of saying no, and so it needs to be communicated in an appropriate way, and explained and express love within that communication. But at the same time, saying yes when woman doesn't feel it, just to please a man, which is often what we women do, we really go against ourselves. And if we do it very often, it happens over and over again. We are being untruthful to ourselves, and we are damaging relationship this way, because again, men doesn't really know what's going on.
And it's like you say, it's when we don't say what we want or what we don't want, then we are depriving ourselves of that. That's the first thing. And the other, we're giving the wrong impressions to our partners and to our environment and children and partners and husbands and everyone. So they assume then that we are who we say yes to. That's who we are. But then inside us, we just like, no, I don't want to do this, or I don't like this, but we're still saying yes. So
then what seems to happen is that it's boiling in us, and many relationships, I can't even count them, end up literally exploding when woman just is like volcano. She explodes, and man is completely surprised, because he's usually busy with working and everyday life,
and he thought everything was okay because everything was
everything was fine. So on this note, I would just say, to conclude it, this point 2 is willingness to say no. It's like, it is standing up for yourself, but it's also giving yourself the same amount of respect as you would give to people around you. I think it's very important to always kind of check in with yourself, like, am I respecting myself the same way I would respect people around me.
Okay.
Any questions? Let us know, guys.
We'll move on, because we've got 10 and we're on number 3. So you're not willing to enforce your boundaries. Oh my goodness, my phone. So sorry. You're not willing to enforce your boundaries. This is an interesting one, because your boundaries are when you know what you want, and when you know what you don't want. That's when you can enforce your boundaries. Okay, this much I can say no to or yes to, but this, if it goes there, no, or something is just totally no. Something is just, so then how far you can go, and you can normally feel it, or because when you're listening to yourself and your intuition and your body, you can normally feel it. We've got that gift. So
start with having a clarity, basically, about what you, as you said, what you want, what you don't want, and then you do something, you set your boundaries. And the more you practice, the easier it gets. It's just quite hard at the beginning. But what we are trying to say with this point is that even if you set your boundaries and you say to your husband, listen, it really doesn't work for me when you go out, I don't know, I make it up, I have a small child and you go up on the only day where I've got Pilates or something, you know, when I can go. And you say, it really doesn't work for me, let's try to find a solution. But, you know, yes, it's good, you expressed it, you uh, said what is important to you, what you wish for, but it's not good if you don't reinforce it. So situation, same thing, comes Friday, your Pilates class is on and your husband is still late for work, although you reminded him in the morning that you want to go to this class and he needs to come back home to look after kids. If he is late and he even says that he forgot or you know, he was too busy at work, you know, if you give up in this point and say, okay, honey, so it's probably, well, you know, he's a busy man, he's not going to work anyway, you know, I asked for too much. If you give up, if you don't reinforce it, meaning, listen, this is really important to me and I reminded you in the morning, was it really nothing you could do to delegate or to do whatever, you know, because trust me, if, you know, God forbid, child is alone at home, something happened, he would be there, you know. So if you don't reinforce it, he might still think it's all you giving up whatever is important to you. So, but and men are sometimes like children. Love you all, men, by the way. But in this sense, you know, they need to be, they need to have a feeling that we really mean it, what we say. So it's like with children, like, can you please put your clothes on? Nothing. Can you put your clothes on? Nothing. You know, fifth time, and then you emphasize, right?
Yes.
And then they get, okay, mommy's not joking.
Yeah.
We need to go to kindergarten.
I'm the same as with children. When you give in or give up, they think, oh, you don't mean it. You don't mean it. It's not serious. And then after a while, they just don't hear it. They just don't hear it. And you can keep repeating. You'll give up eventually, and they
you,
just
and you lose
listen.
your power. If you give up, you lose your power. And every time you give up on reinforcing it and asking for what is important to, every single time you betraying yourself, and because of that you're losing your power. And at the end of the day, men want us to be powerful. Men, it turns them on. They fall in love with us when we've been this way. So, you know, it's very interesting in terms of dynamics and what can happen in relationship because of this as well. Okay, number 4.
Okay, number 4. So number 4 is you depend on your partner to feel better. You've got a classic love story there, so maybe you should say it.
Yeah, go for it, Susie, because it's a good one.
I think you go for a classic love story. You fall in love with someone because they have some qualities or some for something, and then at that time, I don't know, correct me if I'm not saying it right, at that time it feels right because you feel like he's the prince, or he's your savior or something like that. But eventually down the line, it's just one-sided. It's all one-sided, and you feel it, you depend on that, and then that relationship doesn't work, because obviously again you're losing your power, you're losing yourself, and you depend on someone to rescue you or help you or do things for you, which eventually he can't do it for very long, and for you it's not working. You're not being yourself, and you depriving again, and taking away of your true self and your power.
Is that example, like if we are feeling insecure, and we all feel insecure in one way or another about ourselves in different stages of our lives. Some stages we are more insecure than the others, and you know, if insecure partner meets someone who is very self-assured, at least on the outside, right, it's very attractive for insecure people. And this is dynamics with both men and women with men. but I talk about women with men at the moment, with male partner being very, you know, secure, and woman being insecure. It's very attractive at the beginning, because insecure partner finds that attractive, finds security, space where she can, you know, rest and be peaceful. But after, as the relationship grows, she basically realizes that her partner cannot make her feel in this void for security, because deeply inside she's still feeling insecure herself. And so she's, you know, and often the secure partner is only secure on the outside, so she is triggering his insecurities, deep insecurities he doesn't show on the outside as a male. And then, you know, she's only seeing the mirroring picture of her insecurities. It's very interesting dynamics. I hope you are hearing it all. And then basically she starts being resentful towards him, because he is not able to do the job she was subconsciously hoping for, giving her, you know, happiness, so-called. And of course, you know, nobody can do it, so he's being resentful to her because she's being resentful to him. And this is kind of like vicious circle. So we are talking about number 4 is there's it goes down the drain every single time when we depend our happiness solely on our partner making
Somebody
us happy.
else, yes.
Yeah, because our emotional well-being is solely our responsibility. Again, we are coming back to us being responsible for this in relationship, so not our partner's responsibility. It might give us a frustration, and we often blame it on our partner, but it's actually nothing to do with us. If we go quiet and really, thank you for love hearts. I'm hoping that it makes sense. So this gives me hope that it makes sense. It resonates with some of you. So yeah, it's our responsibility, our emotional well-being. I always say, and I've got 2 girls, so when they grow up, I teach them this also, that being a happy woman, that's our main responsibility, not just as a mothers, but also when we are single. And basically man is to me as well, and I love my husband dearly, but it's just a bonus to top it up. It's like that cherry, you know, something tasty on top of the cake.
That's actually a good good indication, or good test, or, you know, to see if you can be with yourself for certain amount of time, then you see really who you are, and whether you depend on others or not. You have to be with yourself, only with yourself, to depend on yourself. And if there is a need to be with somebody all the time, like a kind of toxic need to be with someone all the time, then there might be an indication that, you know, there is a dependency somewhere. Doesn't always have to be on partners. It can be friendships, could be parents as well. So yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. If you can be with yourself,
it's good. It's a good one. And sometimes it's even, especially if you are in long-term relationship, it's good to ask yourself a question like, who would I be without my partner? You know, if I take all that off, you know, it's healthy to kind of comprehend, because that will makes you to come back to yourself, to your core, to who you are. Or even when we don't talk about a relationship, like, who would I be without my job? You know, if I lose my job now, like, who would I be?
Yeah,
it's good sometimes asking yourself those questions. Okay, number 5.
You overrate the importance of complementarity. Opposite attracts. So it's quite similar to the previous one, dependence, but it's the opposite attracts. Like,
I will go very briefly on this one. You know, at the beginning of relationship, when we meet each other, we usually are attracted to someone who is different to us. That is actually the one that causes butterflies in our stomach. That's why as a teenager I loved men with motorbike, like big motorbikes, you know, like bad boys, you know. And that's complete I mean, you watch it on street, it's with some couples it's so visible, you know, it's like, you know. And yes, it is like still till this day we are laughing how opposite we are with my husband in many ways.
Yeah.
But the pitfall with this one is that, and I observe it also when I watch dynamics in relationships, is that it's crazy that often those things that we've been initially attracted in our partner at the beginning of relationship, just the same things we absolutely loved and adored, are really turning it to be very annoying in later stages of relationships. Trying to think of the example. But I'm sure, for example, if cancel it because last time it cut us our life. Anyway, so difference between extrovert and introvert. Initially, it might be really flattering for you being introvert, someone who is, you know, outgoing and takes you to meet new friends and new people, and you kind of like the dynamics because it's new, it's exciting. But after some time, you are not turning into extrovert only because your partner is one. So after some time it becomes irritating and you start doing it only to please your partner, or because it's habitual, because you already always done it, but really you prefer to spend the time on your own and do some drawing or something. Does that make sense? I'm sure there's more examples than that.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know in comments if you have any examples, or you know, that would be really good.
Or let us know like differences between you and your spouse, you and your partner. Like, how are you similar? What things are you similar in, and what things are you very different? Are you more like very different? Or because we've got a twins and we laugh about it that our twins are completely different. And we are like, what are we wondering about? Like, we are very different, like with my husband. But the thing is, we always say, yes, we are very, very different in many things, but in terms of our vision, like our values, our core, you know, beliefs and everything, what we want in life, that we are identical in this. So,
yeah,
you know,
and it goes down to communication, which means talking about things. And again, going back to what we've already said, all those points, saying, knowing what they want, what they don't want, what we want, values and boundaries and all that. And plus, you know, yes, of course we are different. We are, you know, only male and female, that's different. That's opposites, and opposites do attract. But in terms of like family and relationships, it's we should complement each other. I say we together because we are different. So what I can't do, you can do. Yeah, and what he can't do, I can do. So we complement each other, and it's a teamwork. We're a team. I always say, and with the children, we are a team. You know, we can't, if we were all the same, then we would do the same thing and there would be competition and who knows what. Yeah, but we're all different. We have our qualities, we have our gifts and things that we can do. So we can do that, we can contribute with that. And what we can't do, there is my husband that he can do, or my son, or something like that. So it's a teamwork.
Yeah, so it's okay for us to be different. It's actually very healthy. We just need to find a way how inside the relationship we complement each other in such a way that it works. And how do you know it works? That it's easy. Life gets easier, right? And and when you talk about it openly, you know, it's very refreshing to actually talk openly about what is not working. And you know, saying in beginning of our relationship, I was glad my husband didn't give me didn't give into my shit. Sorry. Now it's so enjoying. It's bordering on not being heard. Yeah. Now it's so enjoying. I'm trying to understand. It's bordering on not being heard. Let us know. Let us know a little bit more. I hope I'm reading it right, because it's a little bit. Oh, enjoying. So, what do you mean by that, Nina? Just type it in, just so I understand that. I thought I'm getting a glimpse of it, and I was like, no, I actually want to understand it. So, write it down just to explain whether I'm listening to it correctly. It's good when you share, because we are learning from each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
So number six. Let's move on to number 6. You don't have good models for healthy relationships.
Yeah.
So this what this means is people who are, well, we already mentioned parents, seeing our parents, our mums, how they are, how their relationship is, and we learn from them, obviously, and it becomes our, and families, maybe friends and people who we are around. It becomes our own. It becomes our pattern and becomes our own. And we've already mentioned before that it's hard to actually remove yourself from it and see, oh, is this really mine? Is this model, is this example, and what I'm doing that I've actually made it my own, does it work for me, or can I let it go and try something different? Because what works for other people, and we might have lots of different suggestions, and people suggest and people try to give advice, we see things, but does it actually work for me and for my relationship? It doesn't have to. It can work for others, but it might not work for us. Yeah,
and it comes to when we didn't have those good examples in our families in terms of role models, between mom and dad, and let's say not all of us, barely anyone, unfortunately, from our generation, but even next generations had this really good example of mom and dad being happy and content, and we all experience different forms of non-workability in marriages of our parents, and it is illusion to think that I will never ever be like that. And so many times it happens now. I'm never going to be like my mom, never. Before you know it, you're acting, you're even using the same words as her. I caught myself with that. And my God, how much I didn't like it, when I was a kid, and it's terrifying, but it's not our fault. It is something that is engraved. It feels like it's engraved in us, really, in our subconscious mind, and it comes out, and it's not our fault. But what we can do about it is to just this, right? Being conscious about it, and realize we are doing it, and talk about it very openly, and then taking actions that will lead to shifting this pattern. And it is possible. It just takes a little bit of effort.
First very positive thing is to recognize that what is actually happening, and this is actually happening, and catching yourself doing it, and then you see why you're doing it, because my mom was doing it, or my dad was doing it, and then you also start to understand, because some of these patterns might be that we don't like about ourselves, or the actions that we don't like about ourselves. But then you start to understand why this is happening, and then you also understand your parents more. There might be some regrets or things, and you understand your parents more, like, okay, well, they were doing it because of their life, because how they lived, because they had their own patterns engraved from seeing there, and it goes from generation to generation. and then you're able to see it, you're able to forgive, you're able to free yourself up, and when you do, you're freeing all the generations up as well from especially maybe your mom or dad or grandmother, and that's just so beautiful.
Generations to come also, our children, which is even more important. In this sense. Good. We could talk about this a lot, but you know, I just wanted to mention that as one of the reasons for this dynamic in relationships that is often toxic, sometimes even toxic. Number 7 is you have low standards for emotional maturity. So about this one very briefly, again, you know, this is generalization, and I apologize to all the men, but you know, it seemed to us women in the stage where we are ready to settle down that men are so emotionally immature. You know, we often complain and talk about how men's got problems to converse, right? To actually express their feelings, their emotions. They don't talk, so we are trying to like pull it out of them, and you know that often is hard to have conversations with them. So you know, you hear a lot, you know, he's funny and he's smart, but he's got emotional maturity of a 14-year-old. You know, you hear a lot of these complaints from women, and it can cause a lot of, you know, tension and friction and frustration in relationships, especially, you know, for a woman who's trying to, you know, kind of move forward in relationship. You know, he can be very mature, you know, in other fields, like in his work, you know, but emotional maturity is something that shows up in relationships and is very, very specific. It's nothing to do with intelligence or any or knowledge even. So this can be you know, those men who are not ready to settle down, to commit. You know, I hear that many times with women, that can be also connected. It doesn't have to be, can be actually many other reasons behind that as well, but it can be also connected to emotional maturity. Yeah. But basically, if men are emotionally immature, it's especially for women who expect some level of maturity in relationship, and who's got expectations that match her desires. It can be a real problem, this one. Yeah.
So again, communication, isn't it? You can find out before that relationship goes, but if it's at the beginning of relationship, isn't it? Find out, really talk about what they want and try to see whether you are a kind of a matching on this side as well. But what would you do if this is further down the line and there is a relationship already and there is a marriage and everything, and then the maturity? Because sometimes when, you know, there might be, I was thinking of this one actually.
Interesting.
Interesting, because sometimes, you know, people get together younger and they're maturing different way, and one of them is a bit, I don't want to say behind, but they're not matching with this emotional maturity.
It's when this happens, right?
Yes. So they grow apart, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes it's unavoidable, especially with young marriages and young relationships. I mean, marriage, even if people live together, I mean, we know it's a little bit of lucky bet anyway. So it's hard. On your question, what would you do if you figure it out like later on? It's hard to say. Sometimes woman needs to become mature herself, and only then, it happens to many of my clients, they actually develop and grow themselves. They discover who they are, and suddenly they realize, my God, you know, I chose this partner on a basis of emotional maturity I had years ago. Now I'm consciously somewhere completely else, and it feels like it's not meant to be anymore, right? He's not, I don't want to use the word not enough for me because it feels
Yes.
very, patronizing, but you know what I'm saying. Suddenly a woman feels like it's just not matching her
Yeah.
level, and yeah, then the choices can be can vary, but a lot of women choose to walk away in this case, because if and I think, I just quickly say, I think what really helped me in my first marriage, and to kind of terminate it, even though it was a different kind of but I guess what helps when you are kind of considering whether to stay or leave marriage or relationship, is to ask the question, like, can I imagine myself to live like this for another 20 years or 30 years? Okay. And the chances are it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. And most of the time you know it, really. You know it, that you, if it's that you want to leave, but you just need validation from someone, or speak to someone, maybe talk it out, and no one is going to make the decision for you. But it's probably good to speak to someone and talk about it.
Yeah,
and that
definitely
helps a lot, because
definitely.
you hear it and you can see yourself doing it, rather than all happening in your head.
And speaking to a trained coach or therapist or someone who you trust, and is very important, because if you don't do it, two things may happen if you keep it to yourself or talk to your friends only, who will misguide you anyway, because they will go from their own experiences that are completely irrelevant to yours.
Yeah.
But if you keep it for yourself, two things may happen. You will dwell on it, you will keep on going until you are 60, and then you might say, shit, I should have done something about it long time ago. Now it's still never late, but you know what I mean, I wasted my years. Or you will make a decision, but it's going to be made in anger, or when it comes to the point when it's not going to be pleasant for you, for kids, for partner. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very important. Like, even if you don't know, even if you're scared, but it's still better to go through it with someone, because then they coach or therapist, if they're quality ones, they will keep you on track to be honorable and honest and loving towards yourself and your environment. And if you do it that way, you can never fail, and you definitely move forward one way or another.
And
so it takes a lot of courage,
and that might be the best thing you've done for yourself and for your children and for your partner, and you might be be in a better relationship as friends for a long time.
Many of my clients who did split up, like, look back and they say two things, like, I never thought this is possible to do it and still be friends with a person who I couldn't stand next to me, for example. They say this, and also, like, thank God I done it.
Of course, rather than doing, like you're saying, separation and all the stress around it, and then anger, and because it stays with you. So going through it with someone, it's a process, and then it makes the whole thing like a flow, and there is no residue left behind. Anything that you're carrying with you that it might be still affecting you in the future.
Exactly, like regrets, like I shouldn't, if I wouldn't, like women who,
or
I don't
anger,
know, make decisions in anger, that you are not going to meet my daughter, and then 20 years down the line she's really upset about that one. Anyway, so support, very important. Interesting. Number 8, very quickly, you gossip about your relationship. So good we have this one here. It's one of the last ones that came to my mind, but it's so important. Did you ever had a situation when you had an argument with your partner, being pissed off, you went on a balcony, had a cigarette, told your sister what an asshole he is, And then, sorry, I'm making it vivid, but it's true, we do it. And then, you know, 2 days later, you know, you had a great passionate sex, you had a talk, everything is fine, but there is a residue, right, that you left behind because the, you know, picture your sister painted thanks to you about your partner is going to be more awkward to go there for a visit next time, and da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And also, you know, it is something that, and I'm not saying, guys, it's important to talk to someone, right? It's important. This was my previous thing, what I was telling you. It's important to talk to someone, but again, you know, choosing who to talk to. And ideally have a professional support. That's the best thing, because these people are not going to take it anywhere. They're not your family. They're not going to judge you. They're going to support you the best way
They're
they
not
can.
going to pass it on or anything, you know. It's yeah. So that's a good one.
Just number 9, Susie.
And you have unrealistic expectations of your partner. So having expectation, that's one. Another one for longer conversation. It's an interesting one, but having expectations is it's a good one. It's an interesting thing, because we all live, even though we are partners, we live together, we all live in our own world, in our heads, with our emotions, and we might have expectations of our partners, or expectation of being certain way or behaving certain way, and if they don't meet it, then obviously it's not a good thing. We think they don't love us enough, or they're not doing enough, or whatever it might be. But it's not true for them. They're not really like that. So there is a clash already. Yeah. So having unrealistic expectations doesn't really, for our brain, it's good. Expectations are good if it makes feel as good, because we can predict what's going to happen. It feels safe. But unrealistic, it doesn't work. Work because it creates problems in our relationships.
Definitely. It creates the, I guess, expectations creates tension and resentment unnecessarily. And I always say, you know, like, no matter how good is a man, he can never be everything for you. You know, he can tick a lot of boxes, but it's unrealistic to expect that he's going to be everything for you. You know, like best friend, lover, well, maybe some of the things and combination of things, of course, but not everything. You know, like you expect him to listen to you like your best girlfriend would. No, they will never do that. That's why you got your best girlfriend for, you know, like to I don't know, to have the sense of humor, how your girlfriends go, like laugh about the same thing. No, he will never do that. But why would we expect it from them when we have our girlfriends to paint our nails with? You know, I wouldn't like my husband to paint my nails. I mean, for fun, yes, but not like a.
But again, it's going back to yourself. It's again try and think about, okay, would I meet those expectations from myself? You know, am I those expectations? If I expect someone to be a certain way, am I that person? Because again, you can check with yourself first, that what is this telling me? If I'm expecting him to tell me I love you more, or bring me flowers, I don't know, am I giving that love to myself first? Yeah,
you might give it to him,
yes,
in order to get it back.
Yes,
expecting to get it back. That's not true thing, right? But you know, are you giving it to yourself? And trust me, it's like wondrous thing. Once we start giving it more to ourselves, everything changes. He starts bringing you flowers, and you didn't tell him to.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Okay, finally, number 10, very quickly, you don't know what your values are. God, if we don't know what our values are, what we want, I say it all the time, what our beliefs are, what is important for us, who we are. You don't have to know everything. We are learning all our lives, of course, I do. But, you know, like the core, at least the, you know, like the foundations of it, it is very hard to be in relationship because
Yeah.
you get lost. It's very common that we get lost, you know, in their version of their world. I know it happened to me when I was young. A lot of times it happens to women who say to me, I was successful, I was doing my own thing, I was happy, and then I had my boyfriend, and we spent a lot of time with each other, and I completely forgot about myself, you know. Like, I was so happy to spend the time with him that I was doing, you know, what he liked. I wanted to please him, so I went to do golfing with him, and I don't know, like activities with his friends, and I forgot about my friends. And before the time, you know, before I knew it, a few years passed, and I realized that my life revolves around him, and I lost myself. So, and that's why it's very important to be kind of settled in what your beliefs, values are, who you are, and, you know, and of course compromising in relationship, but, you know, keep your core kind of stable, and that takes some maturity. And of course love is such a powerful force that sometimes we fall in love and we forget.
It's true, and it's true that you say that values are the core of everything, because I say values determine your boundaries. So when you know your values, then you determine your boundaries. You know when to say yes, you know when to say no. We've already talked about it. Everything else is much clearer, and it because you know your values, and you know what you value in life, and for yourself, and for what you value in others as well. So it's the core of everything. It's very beautiful. For example, one of my values is honesty. And if there is someone, let's say, that is not honest, or I see lying or lied to me, yes, give one chance, two chances, three chances. But then it's like, no, I can't live or be with a person who is not honest all the time, or making things up all the time. How can I live with someone like that? Because it destroys me. So I can't. The relationship, that boundaries, that relationship would never work. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, guys, so let us know whether it brought you some value. What part did ring the bell with you the most? What maybe either in comments or maybe in personal messages. If you want to ask any questions, you can do that through messages as well. And in the meantime, we had a great time with you. We will again prepare something interesting for you. Let us know also what you would like to hear about. We always we like to get inspired by your comments or your challenges as well. And if there is any way we can support you, please let us know also. In the meantime, it's Friday, so have a nice weekend, everyone. And we will speak to you soon again.
Yeah, it was nice to be back after such a long time. And yeah, see you soon again. Thank you very much.
Nice
Bye,
to
everyone.
be with you, Susie. Thank you for coming. Bye, guys.
Bye.